When you're in love with something or someone, you'll do anything anytime to spend time with that thing or person. Look at the things in life that you spend the most time on, things that come easily. These things may be beneficial to you or not, but they all have in common that you believe them to be easy or relieving or interesting or fascinating. You don't have to rev up discipline in order to do them. In all actuality, it's the same with these exercises. They are easy, they will relieve you, they're interesting and fascinating, and you will learn more about life, the universe, and everything than you learned in your whole time at school. School does not teach attention. It teaches what one is supposed to put attention on. Don't force yourself to follow a rigid schedule in which you have to do these exercises. They are optional, not a must. Enjoy them. They are most appropriate when you feel like improving yourself. And please beware and understand that attention or focus does not have to mean effort or hard concentration. In school and through narrow-minded religions, some have been taught that focusing means hard concentration. Look around the room. Spot an object. Notice how it's just there. It's already there. You don't have to concentrate or work hard in order to keep it there or perceive it. You don't have to attach to it or hold on to it. All you have to do is receive. In this case, perceive is to receive. Softly, gently. It's already there. What's the rush? What's this rigidness society has conditioned you on? Relax. Chill out. All is well and always will be. That's the difference between hard concentration and soft attention. In the former mode, these exercises will make you feel exhausted. In the soft mode, these exercises will heighten your awareness, your enthusiasm, eagerness, energy, and effectiveness. The attention training. How appropriate these exercises are depends to some extent in which emotional and mental state you are in when you're using them. Some of them are not appropriate when you're feeling low. Some are not appropriate when you're feeling good. Feel and determine this for yourself. Silence and serenity. The very first exercise on attention is, oddly enough, about no attention, making no effort with attention or putting attention on neutral. Neutral mode, or silence mode, is not only the basis of all the following exercises, it is also the basis of life. It is in silence without resistance, in the calming of body and mind that you return to your native state, your natural, effortless state, the state in which connections to higher levels of being, soul, higher self, are allowed to return. The most powerful magic you will create will not be achieved by doing or even achieving, but by non-doing. You have been forcefully conditioned to believe that you can only achieve something by doing something. This is why you run from place to place, person to person, object to object, working hard, trying to achieve something out there, which can only be found in here. It is in silence and serenity that many problems you thought you had fade away by themselves. You have also been conditioned to believe that well-being or feeling good is a goal you have to achieve. Nothing could be further from a truth. It is with this belief that you can be controlled. Someone offers you something with which you can supposedly get happy, and you follow it. But your natural state is happiness. An analogy, see a cork floating in the ocean. You can push down that cork, move that cork, press that cork underwater, but it will always naturally pop up into its effortless, natural state of floating above the water. One of the greatest problems of mankind is their inability to sit silently for a while. It is silence from where creativity and new ideas arise. Isn't this the same exercise as the timeout practice in the chapter on emotions? And isn't this the first step of the pure technique? Is the author repeating himself? Yes, it is. And yes, he is. Now you might want to take this silence a level deeper. Sit our lie and put your attention on neutral. That means give up. Give up any want, should, could, need, not want, intend, plan, try. Give up on knowing. Give up on effort. Give up on focusing. Just sit there and you know everything. Forget everything you know. Softly observe what is there, without judgment, without label, without expectation. Stop knowing things about what you see in your surroundings. This is like viewing them for the very first time. Neither fix on anything in particular, nor try non-fixing. Just see what happens when nothing happens anymore. No need to think anything. But if you do think something, then allow that too. Allow everything and anything. You needn't even begin attempting to form a thought about anything. Just be. In this exercise, you have experienced neutral attention. There are only three types of attention and three types of effect. Attention charged with desire creates reality. Attention charged with resistance creates reality. Neutral attention, uncharged attention, does not create reality. In other words, when you say yes, I like that, you are starting to attract it. When you say no, I hate that, or I'm afraid of that, you are starting to attract it. And when you're in neutral mode, saying neither one thing nor the other, you are attracting nothing. The neutral attention, also called free attention, mode is so very relaxing, isn't? There's an intelligence out there that is so much more vast and efficient than the immersed world self you call me. It is this infinite intelligence that has created everything that exists with effortless ingenuity. You may call it God, the universe, all that is source, the field. When you are in neutral attention mode, neither desiring nor resisting anything, you are in a mode in which world self, what some would call ego identity, but we don't use that label because of its invalidating connotation, not creating anything whatsoever. It is in this mode that the vast universal intelligence kicks in and does the creating for you. You are connected to this infinite field. It starts delivering experiences in accordance with your soul's highest purpose. This is why, when you spend some time out of town or fully in the here and now presence or in pure and simple happiness, that things start happening all by themselves. Coincidences pop up mysteriously. Life changes pop up. This is the true meaning of giving in to God's will or surrendering to a higher purpose. Some mistakenly think that surrender of control equals weakness or loss of power, when in fact connecting to source equals ultimate power. It is also from the 0 point of neutral attention that is the easiest to deliberately shift into various charged attention modes, deliberate reality creation, rather than creating on automatic. Normally, your mind is so full of junk that it is quite difficult to hold a pure thought and manifest it into reality. But when you create something into an emptiness, into a vacuum, you'd be surprised at how quickly it manifests in a physical form. Since the thinking process is involved in reality creating, it might be a good idea to first calm the thinking down. A major reason we suppress our creative power is because our thinking is too chaotic, meaning we would create chaotic conditions if we'd allow our power to increase. Slow down. Otherwise, you'll have thousands of thoughts that you are not only hardly aware of, but they flash by so quickly you can't even view, let alone question or change them. If you remember anything from this section, then it should be relax. Any type of tension you did not deliberately create, like attention and intention, is an indicator that you do not trust the goodness, love, wisdom, and well-being of infinity. But infinity is not of the utterly stone-cold, impersonal nature some shamans will have us believe. It is of a loving and positive nature. The polarity of evil and badness only exists in this dimension. There is no real source of darkness, just like there is no darkness switch, but only a light switch. Relax. Well-being is your birthright. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to wait for it. You don't have to postpone it until conditions are met. You don't have to let your bank account or partner's behavior dictate it. It is yours anytime, and you'll find it when you relax. The Joker card. I call this the Joker card because it's one you can pull anytime to your benefit. It can benefit you today, in 1 year, in 100 years, in 1,000 years. It can benefit you for any situation in any given reality. That's the good thing about attention. It applies to any reality. The Joker card will always make you more aware, shift your attention to the better, make you feel more in touch with yourself and the truth of your situation, more in touch with where you really want to go. It consists of 3 simple questions to ask yourself. Question 1. Where is my attention now? Question 2. Where could my attention be now? Question 3. Where do I want my attention to be now? That's it really. The only tricky bit is remembering to apply the card when it would come in handy. The card will prove to you, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that you are the sole owner of it, that you are fully responsible for where your attention goes. It's not the past that is responsible. It's not other that are responsible. It's not the circumstances that are responsible. You decide where your attention goes. If you've reached a level of awareness where you have difficulty even remembering such useful mind tricks, you might want to make an actual card out of these 3 questions and carry them in your pocket or post them in your car or something. To deepen your understanding of the 3 questions, I'll go a bit into detail on them here. Question 1 is, where's my attention now? You could also ask, where has my attention been up to now today? Or what have I been thinking about? Or what is it actually that I'm preoccupied with? Or what am I doing? This question removes you from a habitual pattern of attention you are in because you put attention on attention instead of being immersed in it. You gain perspective and you sink deeper into the here and now. Once you recognize or realize where your attention actually is, that's really all there is to it. You needn't invalidate yourself for where your attention has been. Invalidating it actually causes a deeper fixation into where your attention has been. Simply acknowledge. Question 2 is, where could my attention be now? You could also ask, where could my attention have been? Or where could my attention be today? But the real question is, of the dozens of options I have, no, of the millions, no, of the trillions of options I have, where could my attention be? Here you allow yourself to realize how habitual, rigid, and fixed your attention in this society normally is, and that it could just as well be on millions of other things. Becoming aware of the infinite possibilities puts your previous focus into a new perspective. Your attention could be on other topics, other countries, other people, other events. In this step, you may also allow your attention to wander to things you've rarely thought about or you normally don't consider. This releases fixation on your previous focus, disperses attention, makes your previous focus less heavy, less serious, less charged, less important. Question 3 is, where do I want my attention to be now? Or where do I want my attention to be today? Or what do I really want to focus on? Or what would feel good to look at or do? Once you're more aware of where your attention has been and then dispersing it, thus feeling a bit lighter, you actually determine and decide where you want to put your attention now. Unless what you had attention on previously is charged with heavy emotion, you'll find this to be quite easy. Shift your focus to something that is good for you because it feels good to you. You know it's something better and improved when it feels lighter when you focus on it. Remember, you're not going to get any problem solved by only focusing on that. Consciousness always needs an example of what is wanted instead. Focus on what you don't want, and you get more of what you don't want. If you want to solve a problem, focus on what is wanted instead. Once you give your mind a proper example, it knows what to focus on and soon feels much better. Attention on attention. In this little gem of an exercise, you simply recognize attention as your only true source of awareness and support. It simply involves putting attention on attention, meaning you become aware of what you are being aware of. This removes your viewpoint from identification with a reality to the source of that reality. Let's say you're at a gas station, waiting in line, and you start applying this exercise. Okay, I'm aware that I'm bored of standing in line because I've stood in line so many times. I'm aware that I don't expect anything interesting to happen here. Now I'm aware of that blue car over there. Now I'm aware that I'm judging that car. Now I am aware that my attention is going to a strange smell coming from behind me. Now I'm aware that I'm speculating about that person over there, and so forth. Having attention on attention means you are examining where your attention is going on automatic, thus regaining a sense of control over your attention. Shifting focus. An analogy, you're sitting in the restaurant of a foreign country where you don't speak the waiter's language. So you'll have to be pointing at things on the menu you want. But as the waiter arrives, you start pointing at things on the menu that you don't want. I do not want this. And this is bad. That tastes terrible. Don't bring me this, please. I prefer not to have that. And all the while you are pointing. So, what do you think this waiter is going to bring you? He will bring you what you indicated. He will bring you exactly what you do not want. Universal intelligence is like a copy machine that can only respond to what you activate with your attention. You cannot deactivate negative thoughts and emotions because the moment you attempt to, you're focusing on them, warming them up, activating them. You can only deactivate the unwanted by activating what you want instead. And since like attracts like, it is much easier to attract more of what you want when you're already doing good. than it is from a state of lack or incompleteness. This is why the rich easily get richer and the poor easily get poorer. Things attract more of the things that are like it. The rich person is surrounded by proof of his richness. His attention is on it all day, so he will attract more of it. Same goes for the poor. So when you're in unwanted states or conditions, the time will come where you will eventually have to shift your attention to what is wanted instead. Otherwise, you'll just keep producing and experiencing more of the same. Ever wonder why every day seems similar to the day before? Why thoughts keep repeating? Because you use your attention in a similar way day by day. While it is true that many people can more easily define what they want by first experiencing what they don't want, it is not really necessary to draw this type of method out. You don't really have to have a car accident before you understand that you want to wake up and change your life. Admittedly, this is a method that many people use, but it's not necessary. All you'd have to do is define what it is you do want. Here's the very simple, yet very important exercise. 1. Write down things you've been experiencing that you dislike or do not want. 2. For every point on your list, define and specify what you want instead of that. That's all. Sense and sensuality. Many people claim that they are interested in their goals and desires, but a closer look will reveal that they don't give their apparent desires any attention, credence, interest, importance. Even a lot of people who know that attention creates reality continue to give what they seemingly desire not much attention or appreciation. Maybe that's because they don't believe that it's possible or probable to achieve. But they don't believe it's possible or probable to achieve because they haven't given it any attention. Some people even think they are focused on their desire or aim, when they're actually focused on the lack of their desire or aim. There's a very subtle but paramount difference between being focused on what you want and the lack of what you want. Noticing how it's not here yet not enough of it still waiting on it is being focused on the lack of what is wanted, not on what is really wanted. If you're truly focusing on your desire or goal, then you're focusing on the things you would be focusing on if your desire were already manifest. In order to truly allow a reality to magically manifest as real, you have to become this reality, melt with it, become ever more familiar with it, explore it, feel it, dive into it beforehand, already in the first place, before you have proof for its reality. It's you who has to make it real. Once you are so immersed in a desired reality that you feel it in your whole being, it is only a matter of time until physical reality reflects your energy state. Yes, attention creates or attracts reality. But there are many ways to focus attention, many specific ways to sensually immerse yourself in something, lose yourself in something. Some people automatically equate giving attention to looking at something with the eyes. But the eyes are not the only means through which attention flows. And focusing attention also does not only mean focusing on thoughts. There are very many ways to energize or charge a reality, intensify attention, and thus become one with the object of desire. Here are a few of the precious ways to focus. Visual, by looking at, seeing, focusing with the eyes, observing, inspecting, visually perceiving. Audio, by hearing, listening, focusing with the ears. Touch, by touching, handling, caressing, physical contact with something. Emotion, by feeling, sensing, perceiving emotional energy. Memory, by remembering, recalling, going back to certain experiences. Verbal, by talking about, talking as if, word, writing. Physical surrounding, by being at the place where something is happening, by being at the location. Social contacts, by spending time with people who represent something or already experience something. In behavior, by how you behave, by acting as if, by your mannerisms and expression. Mentally, by thinking about, imagining, daydreaming, choosing thoughts. In intention, by willpower, by willing, by deciding, intending. In allowing, by surrendering to, giving in to, trusting. Bodily, by moving the body accordingly. In action, by acting on it or acting as if you were sure it has happened or will certainly happen. In pure attention, by moving attention to things that are associated with it or by filtering things out that are associated with it. When you synchronize with any reality, you create it magically. But it's really not so much a kind of magic, it's simply physics. You may begin to seem like a magical person compared to others once you applied it, because most people haven't been taught how the reality they were born into works. Give it a few more centuries, and mankind will understand the physics that acknowledges how the viewing human is involved in what he is viewing. There is no such thing as a reality without someone to view that reality. Applying any one of the above means allows you to focus attention. If you really want to immerse yourself, apply all of them on the same thing. Once you immerse yourself to an extent that you become the desired reality, you do not require any proof, hesitation, doubt. Yes, but what if, when, how, where, because you represent that reality, are identified with that reality, and it will be reflected in real life and time. You can only doubt something you're not completely familiar with if there are uncertainties about that thing. But having given it enough attention, all unfamiliarity vanishes. The computer screen analogy. Start up your computer or laptop and look at the screen in front of you. This screen represents your life. Life contains various icons to choose from. These icons symbolically represent files or programs you can open by clicking on them. These icons are on your desktop, main screen, and lead to many sublevels. In our analogy, the icons represent the many options you have in any given moment, the many experiential worlds you can enter. Which file or program you open is your choice, and your choice only. You have reasons for the choices you make, but these reasons are also your choice. Now, without opening any file or program, move your mouse pointer over the icons. The mouse pointer represents your attention. It is with the mouse pointer that you choose something you want to activate. It is with your attention that you choose a reality you want to experience. Move over the icons with your pointer and feel the uncertainty. What should I open? What would I like? What is important? What happens when I open it? Can I close it again after I open it? These are questions people ask themselves when it comes to making choices or reality creation. If you put your mouse on one of the options and click once, the file does not open yet. It gets dark or it's emphasized. This represents focusing attention. Click it twice and it opens. But let's rewind here for a second. In the practice of reality creation, most people don't even get as far as double-clicking a file, let alone using it. Often they don't even get as far as clicking it once. There are many people that are not quite aware that they have the choice which file they focus, and thus which reality they activate. Some don't even know any other programs than the one they are experiencing exist. And those who have finally found out that there are other options, plenty of them in fact, get stuck in not knowing which file to open. I don't know what I want, they will say. Now, to demonstrate this, move over the screen like someone who doesn't know what he wants, go here and there without actually opening any of the files. The screen remains quite unchanged. You and the few people who do know what they want sometimes do not have the courage to open the file. Why so? Because it will change the screen and might open a can of boxes they don't feel prepared for. Or it might disturb the other realities open. Now, choose any icon on your screen which, in this analogy, will represent what you want. Put your mouse on it, but don't click on it yet. What you just did represents knowing what you really want. Do I really want that? If I focus on that, I cannot simultaneously focus on other things. Well, I can, but it might take more effort. Will I be able to close it again after opening it? I don't know. Maybe I'll open something easier, some game program, maybe solitaire to distract myself. I'll open something I already know, I've already done thousands of times because that's where I feel safe. That's where I feel at home. So I move the pointer away from what I wanted, back to some distraction program. Sound familiar? Most people would rather open something known but boring than something desired but unknown. Unless they know the following for a fact. There is nothing to fear, and you can close any of the files anytime, just like you open them. What you can open, you can also close. And what you can close, you can reopen again. In infinity, nothing ever gets lost. You needn't attach to anything because you can pick anything back up again. And you get involved in anything because you can let go of it any time again. Do you get the spirit of that? Then there's the case of the person who is so much against a certain program that he keeps clicking on it. Get an icon that symbolically represents something you hate or resist. Being against it will cause you to constantly double-click it in your anger. You don't even want to go there. You don't even want to keep warming it up, but you keep double-clicking it like made until dozens of it are open on your screen. To get a feeling of this, click on that icon you dislike like crazy a few times. Damn you, click. It opens. Click on it some more, but nothing improves. Things get worse. You might even be clicking so often and frantically that your entire screen freezes up and you're unable to do anything. Now, relax and click it away again. In front of you, the silent screen of options. There's another case of the person whose attention is so restless, impatient, and tense that he haphazardly and randomly opens all kinds of icons. Demonstrate that for a second. Open a dozen or so files quickly so that they pile up on each other, and it even comes to delays in your computer. Get impatient about the hourglass icon. What you have now is chaos, overwhelmment, overload. You will not be able to get involved in any of the programs. This might seem silly to you, but this is exactly what many people behave like towards life. They click on too many options, or they don't click at all, or they have others click for them, or they click on the undesired. Reality creation teaches none of this. It teaches the following. Look at the screen before you in a relaxed manner. Look at the options you have, at the cards you've been dealt. Choose what you like, what seems interesting or joyful to you. Gently put your mouse pointer on it. This represents deciding or choosing. Click it once. This represents putting attention on it. Double-click it to open it. This represents intensifying attention on it. Start working with the program. This represents focusing in such a way that you start interacting with it, feeling it, using it, getting to know it, experiencing it. This is how you make it come true. It takes one to know one. You can only experience what you are the vibration of. Now, something interesting, the most important part of this whole process is not the screen, not the files, and not even the attention. Turn your view to yourself. You, your identity, the person applying attention. This is where it all comes from. Imagine this person sitting there just waiting for something to happen out there on screen, waiting for reality to create out there on screen. But it's not going to happen without this person. Something even more interesting. Is there a world beyond the screen? Yes, for sure. Just turn around. Decide and focus. Decide what you're going to focus on next. When you've decided, then focus on that. Then decide what you're going to focus on next. When you're sure you've made that decision, focus on that. Decide and focus. Repeat this several dozens of times consecutively until you feel in charge of your attention, more relaxed, more self-determined. The basic version of this exercise is done with relatively short time spans of focusing on something and choosing the next thing to focus on. This could be anything from 3 seconds to 20 seconds before you make the next decision. In this specific exercise, make sure that you're making a conscious decision before you focus on the next object or subject. Loosen yourself in the here and now. Pick a neutral object, something you neither desire nor resist. Maybe the rug, or a curtain, or anything relatively neutral. Examine it. Look at it. Go into detail on it. Notice things about it that you hadn't noticed before. Learn something new about it. Discover something about it that has eluded your attention up to now. Become increasingly interested in it. Softly focus on it until you lose yourself in it. Immerse yourself in it until all boredom and impatience is gone, until you forget schedules, obligations, time, space, and even forget yourself. Once you experience that state of calm and fascination, that high awareness in the here and now, do the same thing with another object, and then another object. Continue until your sense of well-being, calm, or excitement grows beyond what you formerly thought possible. No need to worry, since you're not immersing your focus with the intention of manifesting or emotionally synchronizing. And since you chose something neutral, you'll not attract this into your life. What you are doing here is similar to what you do when you lose yourself in a good book or an interesting movie. Sometimes you are so immersed in something that you don't even hear the phone ringing. This exercise supports you in calming the mind, powering up your concentration, regaining that sense of fascination you had as a little child, regaining devotion and your ability to learn new things. What you are ultimately practicing here is the standard universal method to enter any reality you want, learn anything you want, find out anything you want, simply by pure attention. It's how a soul enters a universe. It gets interested, it starts focusing, it comes closer and closer, it goes into it, it loses itself in it, sometimes to the extent that it forgets everything outside of that reality, as is the case with planet Earth. This same exercise can be used with something you desire. When doing it on neutral things, you do it to calm the mind and learn concentration. When doing it on things you desire, you do it with the intention of feeling more and more of it, of closing the gap between your vibration and its vibration, which is the gap between desire and belief. Close the gap between desire and belief, and anything is possible. The longer you look, the more familiar you become with it. The more familiar, the less fear, the more trust. The more trust, the closer it comes to you. After you've gained some positive experience with neutral items, apply the same exercise to things you would like to have, own, or experience. The exercise can be applied to real-life objects, visualized objects, thoughts, memories, verbally, pictures, or in written form. Defragmenting attention. Step 1. Write down questions you've been asking yourself, or take issues you've been thinking about and rephrase them to questions you want answered. Or simply create a list of questions you'd really like to have answered. Step 2. Now, have another look at your questions and rephrase them if necessary, so that they become better, more intelligent questions. Upgrade the questions. For example, if you want to lose weight, you could be asking yourself the question, why am I so fat? Or why am I overweight? But there's a more intelligent question to ask. You could rephrase that into, how can I lose weight? Or an even better question to ask, how can I lose weight and enjoy the process? In this sense, see if there's any questions on your list you can upgrade. Step 3. Answer the questions yourself. Before turning to anyone outside of yourself, before looking for answers out there, ask yourself these questions. Use your intuition, common sense, and your feeling of self-determined spiritual authority to find answers you are satisfied with. If there is an answer you're not satisfied with, think deeper or rephrase the question until you can answer it and feel good about the answer. Step 4. Now, if you want to, you may address the questions to others if you still need to. You can also address the questions to your inner coach or higher self. You can say the following prayer before falling asleep. Thank you for showing me that these issues are already solved. Repeat. Or you can visualize a representation of your higher self and ask the questions. Or you can ask them someone you appreciate and respect. It's up to you. The point is that it gives your attention relief to have unanswered issues answered, and even more power is gained when you can answer them yourself. Expansion of awareness. Expanding awareness, consciousness, perception is simply a matter of expanding attention to places it hasn't been before or going into the unknown. In a very basic and real sense, it means to perceive, see, hear, think, notice, discover, learn, feel, taste, smell, sense something that you haven't perceived, seen, heard, thought, noticed, discovered, learned, felt, tasted, smelled, since before. One of my many teachers, I forget who, once told me a beautiful metaphor. Do bring this point home. It went something like this. I get lost in a dark cave, and I don't know where to go, and I pray and ask for guidance. As my eyes get used to the darkness, a new awareness awakens in me, and I notice that one direction is brighter than the other. So I go in the direction of the light, and I come upon an even wall of rock which reflects light. This must be it, I think. This must be enlightenment. But as my eyes get used to the soft light, a new awareness awakens, and I realize that the light is actually coming from a nearby water basin. That's it, I think. That must be enlightenment. But as I approach the pond, my eyes get used to the reflection of light in the water. A new awareness awakens, and I realize that the light is actually coming from the moon shining. That must be it. I think that must be enlightenment. But as I observe the light of the moon, a new awareness awakens, and I realize that the light actually comes from the flames of the sun. That must be it, I think. And on the story goes. This beautiful metaphor shows how there's no final, static end to things, that the journey of the soul is infinite. It also shows that when you think you've finally got it, there is yet another exciting frontier to be discovered. The following exercise may seem simple or even simplistic, but it demonstrates expansion of awareness in its original sense. And aren't the most profound truths very simple indeed? Pick out a single object and softly examine it until you notice 5 things about it that you haven't noticed before. Look at the walls, the ceiling, and the floor of the room you are in and notice some things that you hadn't noticed before. Look around your neighborhood and discover 10 things about it you hadn't noticed before. Pick out a memory in your mind. Go back to that memory. View it until you notice a few things about it you hadn't noticed before. Observe another person and notice 5 things about that person you haven't noticed up to now. Observe life and notice 100 things about it that have evaded your attention up to now. Learn a new word and use it. Learn a new ability and apply it. Put the things that are apparently the same. For example, 2 coins of the same currency and amount, side by side, and discover 5 differences between the two. Spot 10 differences between today and yesterday. Coming to your senses. Did you know there's a whole beautiful universe out there that you are hardly noticing? You might be so eager to achieve some sort of enlightenment that you don't even notice the breathtaking beauty at hand right now. You can expand the intensity of your earthly experience simply by paying more attention to the joys of your senses. For a certain time span, focus all your attention only on what you hear. Blindfolding would support this focus. For a certain time span, focus all your attention only on what you see. Plugging your ears would support this focus. For a certain time span, focus all your attention only on what you feel. Deep breathing and silence would support this focus. For a certain time span, focus all your attention only on what you think. Closing the eyes would support this focus. For a certain time span, focus all your attention only on what you smell and taste. Foods would support this focus. The purpose of sensory deprivation is to heighten your focus on the thing you've chosen. Naturally, you will start experiencing life in a much more intense and vivid way. Charged attention and neutral attention. Attention particles can manifest in 3 ways. Charged with desire. Charged with resistance. Neutral, free attention. Resistance comes before desire. Without negativity, you wouldn't have any desires. Desires are created when you begin resisting or invalidating a current condition. Desire is actually resistance against not having, being, or doing something. The more discontent you become about it, the stronger your desire gets. The cycle of dissatisfaction/resistance leading to desire, leading to satisfaction is what we call life. Negativity leads to desire, and desire eventually to fulfillment. This is easy to grasp. Imagine a stick. One end of the stick, A, represents the unwanted condition. What you resist, the other end, B, represents the wanted condition, what you desire. In theory, all you'd have to do is take the journey from A to B in order to create reality according to your preference. What most people really do, though, is they remain on a keep drumming up, keep talking about A, keep thinking about A, although they claim to prefer B. Why? Because we've been taught that we can solve it by focusing on A or by resisting or fighting A. But the opposite is true, because resistance is an even more intense form of focus. The quickest way to be would be to start with B, to have it not only be the end, but also the beginning. It is impossible to reach B when your dominant thoughts, emotions, and vibrations rest in A. Negatively charged attention means you cannot get your attention off something, keep thinking about it, keep fearing it, keep getting angry or sad about it, or keep experiencing something as reality. This type of attention is created by resistance, denial, pushing away, or strongly saying no to something. The resistance itself creates a sort of pressure, or pressing energy beam towards the object or event that is resisted. Positively charged attention happens when you desire something. When you desire something that is on a higher level than your current vibratory state, the desire creates a sort of pulling or attracting energy beam toward the object or event of desire. No matter if your attention particles are positively or negatively charged, they're still densifying a reality, albeit in 2 different ways. Attention charged with resistance tend to push each other away, thus creating a pressing beam between you and what is perceived. This is why you feel what you resist as pressure. Attention charged with desire tend to attract each other and create an attractor beam between you and what is perceived. That's why you feel a pulling sensation when you desire something. Something that you desire and resist, feel ambivalent about, will create the most unpleasant of sensations, a pushing and pulling beam. Everything you desire and everything you resist will eventually come into your real-life experience, unless the positive and negative attention particles neutralize each other before that. Pressing beams, negatively charged attention, make the energy beam between you and the resisted object longer and press against the object. Take any object and start feeling strong resistance against it. You will notice how your body subtly sways backward. Attracting beams, positively charged attention, make the energy beam between you and the desired object shorter. Attract the perceived object. Take any object and start feeling strong desire for it. You will notice how your body subtly sways forward. Exaggerated pressing and attracting beams will lead to loss of self-control. Stand in front of a wall and project a pressing beam, resistance, towards it. You will notice yourself moving backwards. If the pressing beam intensifies or gets longer, either the wall or you'll have to move. In martial arts, you can apply this knowledge to overwhelm others. When someone is resisting you and you let go of your own resistance towards him, he will lose his balance. If you place a pressing beam between something lightweight and something heavy, let's say between a tree leaf and a block of concrete, the tree leaf would move. If the block of concrete would resist the leaf would move. If the leaf resisted the block of concrete, it would also be the leaf that moves. If, of course, you stick the leaf to a skyscraper and let it fight against the block of concrete, the block would move. The pressing beam elongates and the tractor beam shortens. The beam doesn't care which end of the beam moves. The end that has less physical inertia moves. When you create an attractor beam of desire, the object you desire will move towards you if its relative physical inertia is smaller than yours. If you're smaller, you'll have to move towards the object. Again, this boils down to the following. In order to fulfill a desired reality, choose a smaller one or get bigger yourself. Identity, or the I am, is a sphere of consciousness that is surrounded by various things, with which stability the I can keep its place while is projecting tractor and pressing beams vibratory energy in order to affect other people, events, or objects, depends on the identity's inertia, in this sense meaning his conviction of the rightness of his beliefs. If one's own belief is weak, then sending out energy beams of desire and resistance will cause the beams that are sent back move or shift the identity that sent them out. Deep beliefs have the advantage that you can consistently create a certain reality. They have the disadvantage that you are limited to a certain viewpoint. On the bright side, deep believers are very successful people. On the dark side, they are fanatics. Desire and resistance resemble the plus and minus charge of electricity. When you want something that is not, or do not want something that is, you get negatively charged attention. Negatively charged attention densifies the reality you resist, makes it come alive. What you resist will persist. When you want something that is, or don't want something and it is not, you get positively charged attention. Positively charged attention densifies the reality you desire. What you love, you will get. The more charged attention is, the more effort you need to neutralize it, regain conscious command over it, and reintegrate it into universal consciousness, dissolve it. If the charge is higher than the effort you can invest, attention fixes, gets locked or addicted. If it fixes over a longer period of time, it is abandoned and forgotten without being reintegrated and radiates a sort of foulness, dullness, or unpleasantness from subaware levels of being. Putting fresh attention on a non-integrated subject would warm the subject back up. This can lead to temporary emotional pain. Putting yet more attention on the subject will allow it to reintegrate again, though. Charge attention needs to be neutralized before it can be reintegrated. Until then, it hangs around the I am as energy clouds of impression called mind or identity. The interaction of the charge attention units is what causes restlessness of thoughts and the ups and downs of emotions. Emotions are merely indicators of which path you are on, one leading to the manifestation of a desire or the manifestation of a fear or resistance. There are many ways to neutralize charged attention. One of them is to simply retreat to a place where there is nothing that can recharge your attention. If this type of isolationism is not for you, meditation, self-examination, and the attention exercises that follow will help you neutralize the charged attention you've been a reactive victim of. Suffice it to say that creation is a path into the world and decreation, neutral attention, a path back to source. Neutral attention can be delegated by a nearly identityless I am effortlessly. What's amusing is that there are states of being in which you have powers to create anything you want pretty effortlessly, but these states of being are also states in which you are no longer interested to create such things. From a charged state and a fixed identity, you might desire fame and fortune. From a highly light state of near identitylessness, I am, in which neutral attention is not so much a beam, but more an awareness and an interface between the non-dimensional infinity and dimensional creation. Only when an identity is assumed or something perceived is judged/labeled attention becomes a beam. Neutral attention exerts neither pressure nor attraction on what is perceived. No label is added to what is perceived. No or nearly no reaction takes place. The information perceived by this silent witness is transferred to universal intelligence immediately. The observer in a state of neutral attention is neither attracted nor repelled by anything, but solely directed by the will of the I am. The more neutral attention one has, the easier it is to create and act deliberately. Exercise, neutralizing attention. Both negatively and positively charged attention can cause troubles. Positively charged attention becoming a limitation happens when you desire something that is on a higher level than you are willing to receive, a higher level than your own vibratory level. This creates a longing, craving, desperately wanting or needing, and thus a desire that remains unfulfilled. One way of neutralizing this issue has already been discussed in aligning desire and belief, scaling, and releasing fixed attention. The opposites technique. Another way to neutralize attention is with the following very advanced technique. Take a piece of paper and draw a line horizontal line or scale that goes from -10 to +10. The 0 in the middle is the point of neutral attention. The minus numbers are points of resistance and fear, increasing up to 10. The plus numbers are points of desire, increasing up to outright craving at number 10. Write down a few examples you would have of various points of the scale. For example, on -1 you might have writing tax statements, if that's something you don't particularly enjoy. If you're afraid of spiders, you might have that on -5. If you're absolutely terrified of heights, that might be on -8. If you hate certain people, you may place them on -4. Your favorite meal might be on +1. An attractive person of the preferred sex may be on +4. Being rich might be on +6. Your addiction to chocolate may be on +7. And so on. Now, as you know from physics, positively charged energy is neutralized by negatively charged energy, and negatively charged energy is neutralized by positively charged energy. So, as crazy as it may sound, you can neutralize the negatives by projecting positive energy on them, and vice versa. Let's say you want to neutralize charged attention on spiders or fear of spiders. That means you'd start projecting and mentally associating positive things with spiders, visualizing spiders as cute, nice, cuddly, sweet, friendly, teddy bear-like nice little tiny, comfy, cozy spiders. At first you'd hit on doubts and resistances while doing this. Maybe you'd even find yourself unwilling to do this at first. But as you continue, spiders will start moving up the scale to -4, then to -3, and to -2, and to -1, and finally to 0, to neutral. When you neutralize attention, you feel a great sense of relief, a fear is overcome. Now, if you'd continue to project desire, longing, wanting on spiders, then it would move even further up the scale, and your neutral feeling about spiders would become a positive one. With some issues such as pain or war, you would not want to do that. Maybe you wouldn't even want to move such issues to neutral, but you could at least move a painful issue from -10 to -3, to ease up on it a bit so that it does not dominate your entire radius of attention. Now, vice versa, let's say you have a craving of chocolate on level 7 and you would like to ease up on that a bit. That means you would simply project resistance, negative association on it. You'd start visualizing and thinking about it as sickening, making you fat, vomiting in connection with spoiled chocolate, poison chocolate, unhealthy chocolate, dangerous chocolate, and so forth and so on. Initially, you'd have doubts, but as you continue to focus in this way, chocolate would move down to +5, +3, +1, and finally neutralize at 0. If after you've lost your craving you continue with this type of focus, then it would actually turn into a resistance towards chocolate. So stop the exercise before that happens. Having it on neutral, or even on +1 or +2, is quite enough not to have your attention field dominated by it. With this, you have just learned the secrets of neutralizing attention and the usefulness of both pressing and attracting beams. The camera technique. Neutral attention is the only type of attention that does not attract some kind of reality. What you say yes to, you attract. What you say no to, you attract. But what you are neutral on, you do not attract. Neutral attention is therefore your point of relaxation. It is also where those people are heading who seek spiritual realms beyond this reality. 0-point awareness is the gate to realities beyond the world of creation. That's why any issue you view with completely neutral attention, without pushing it away or pulling it to you, will neutralize another third way to neutralize charged issues. Any unwanted thoughts you view like this for a while will naturally evaporate. Neutral attention is similar to a movie camera on a film set. Everyone on the film set is somehow focused on one thing or the other. The camera is the only viewpoint that sees the film set in its entirety, that sees everything as it is. The camera does not have any preferences or resistances, and unless it's zoomed, it doesn't focus on anything specific but takes the whole picture as it truly is. Neutral attention is the most useful sort of attention. Positively charged attention, meaning attention that is charged with a desire for something, is also very useful, but it is only useful when you're on the appropriate level to receive what you are desiring. Anything you desire, you start attracting. But with many people, it's not the wanting or intending or desiring that's the problem, but being in a state where one allows oneself to receive what was attracted. Scale of attention. Undefined awareness / universal consciousness / infinity / the field. Neutral attention. Charged attention. Fixed attention. Decaying attention. The difference between neutral attention and definitionless infinite awareness is that neutral attention can be contained within a creation. 0-point meditation. 0-point or infinite awareness can be reached in the meditational practice of observing without reacting, observing without evaluating. This is an even deeper version of the aforementioned exercises timeout and silence and serenity. Close your eyes and observe the stream of thought without getting caught up in any of them. Step by step, stop reacting to your thinking. As long as attention doesn't fix, you remain centered, rooted, source, witness, and thoughts come and go. When attention starts fixing to a thought, you start flowing with that thought. Imagine a river and a boat. When you sit at the riverbed, the boat floats by and disappears further down the stream. That's meditation. Or you watch the boat a bit longer, walk with the boat along the riverside. That's observation. Or you get into the boat and start paddling against the stream. That's the struggle of life. Or you get into the boat and start letting yourself be carried with the stream. That's the joyride of life. To retreat from the stream of consciousness for a while and simply be aware is peaceful meditation that will neutralize charged attention. Releasing fixed attention. You can actually release any unwanted reality by deliberately and consciously focusing your attention on the unwanted reality and alternating that by deliberately focusing on something else. You then switch back and forth between the object or issue your attention has been fixed on and that's something else, preferably something neutral, until the fixation is released. From a state of neutral attention, you then arrive at you put your attention on whatever it is you want and stay there until the desired reality manifests. It is really that easy. The releasing of fixed attention can be done in writing, in speaking, in acting, or by focusing the mind. So if you're, for example, doing it in writing, you would describe the problem, then describe some object in the room. Then, once your attention is totally there, switch back to describing the problem, and then back to another object, and so forth and so on, alternating many times until you've switched the problem on and off so many times that you've become source over it. This will work with anything, but it is recommended to first try it out on issues that are not highly charged, e.g., a headache, an unwanted bill you received, a slight mishap, before you apply it to harder subjects. The depolarization technique. Any desire you have polarizes you automatically. Anytime you set a goal or state what is wanted, you polarize between what the current state and the desired state. This is the A to B stick we mentioned earlier. Any goal about being, doing, or having something automatically creates this pair of twos, a tension between two poles. It is the tension that motivates you to follow the goal. When you reach the goal, the tension disappears. Both poles disappear into emptiness. Duplicating the goal makes the whole construct disappear. Polarities merge are replaced with relief. The structure of any goal or desire is a triad of current state, desired state, and the tension between them. So for example, having the goal, I want a career change, automatically creates the other two objects. I am unhappy with my current job and the tension between the two. Here are 3 types of methods that will make the triad disappear. 1. To reach the goal/fulfill the desired reality. 2. To reach/manifest the desired reality in your imagination. 3. To cancel the desired reality. Most people are already familiar with the first method, which they use on a daily basis. The second method involves duplicating the desired result in your imagination, as if you were already experiencing it in reality. If you duplicate it properly, the goals construct will fall apart. Consciousness does not differentiate between real and imagined, and feels the same relief whether the goal was achieved in physical or imagined reality. Method 3, also most people are familiar with. It simply means canceling the desire or goal, deciding it is no longer your desire, without labeling this as a loss or using it as a cause for self-invalidation. These are 3 viable paths to release tension energy or neutralize attention. Sexual energy offers a good analogy to this. Desire, sex. Current state, no sex. Feeling, sexual tension. Method 1. To have sex with someone in physical reality. Method 2. Do have sex with someone in imagination, masturbation. Method 3. Give up desiring sex, diverting attention elsewhere. All 3 methods lead to the tension of polarity to fall apart. In other words, if there's too much exhaustion and unhappiness in your life, then use one of these 3 paths to relieve yourself. Reach the goal or give it up without regret. Either get into the state of having reached the goal or reach it or give it up. Spending too much time in the field of tension in between may cost too much energy. What happens to all the desires and goals that have not been handled by one of these 3 methods that were neither achieved, nor experienced, nor given up? Nothing. They're still within you and need energy, attention, to be sustained. It takes a lot of energy to have a desire you don't believe in. And if you're not able to reach it mentally or in physical reality, then stop acting like you were trying. Or simply experience fulfillment mentally and emotionally. If you do that and experience the relief inwardly, physical reality will respond to that emotional vibration of fulfillment by reflecting new events. Any desire that has not been handled binds attention, decreases your ability to handle life, decreases your self-worth, and can exhaust you. In this exercise, you will learn depolarization and handling unfinished cycles of creation. An unfinished cycle of creation is a goal you have set that hasn't fulfilled yet, which you'd still like to fulfill. It is not a goal that you have willingly canceled. These unfinished cycles of creation are still hanging around your energy field, pulling attention. By procrastinating and constantly postponing things and decisions, these fields of tension do not disappear. They stack up on each other until they start feeling like a burden. If you wish to experience less burden and tension, finish the unfinished. Define a limited amount of goals or more realistic goals, those you really believe you can reach. Or change yourself to an extent that you are up to speed with your goals. Only when you get bored by all the peace and emptiness, you may start going for higher challenges again. 1. List things your attention has been on recently. List things that are unfinished. List things you keep postponing. List things you're unable to begin. List things you feel unable to stop doing. List things you have been resisting. 2. Rate each item on your list for importance. Assign 1 for very unimportant and 5 for very important or any number in between. 3. Rate each item for its current state. Assign 1 for unfinished and 5 for taken care of or ideal state or any number in between. 4. Mark all the items that are on the one hand important and on the other hand unfinished. These number combinations would be 5 to 1, 5 to 2, 4 to 1, 4 to 2. These are your priority items that take the most attention energy. 5. Cross out all items that are so unimportant or finished that they no longer require your attention. Cancel them. 6. Review your new list, choose the easiest item you could do, and do it immediately. Right now, without procrastination. Do not continue reading before it is done. 7. Later on, take the next easiest or more uncharged item and take care of it immediately. Do this for the rest of your list. After you're done with your list and have regained free attention and energy, make a new list. List desires you have. Some items from the last list may reappear. Decide for each desire if you're going to A. Reach it, B. Fulfill it in your imagination, or C. Cancel it. And proceed in the way you've just defined. You will start experiencing more energy than ever before. Attention and manipulation. An understanding of the nature of attention can be and has been used on a fairly regular basis for the manipulation of people, mass consciousness, and perception of reality. In a wider sense, any type of deliberate use of attention is a sort of manipulation, but what we're talking about here is using attention as a weapon against people. A few specific techniques are used by politicians, media, and advertisement. This section does not imply that you are a victim of such institutions. If you do not resonate with a certain reality, if you do not hold fear in you, or if you are aware of these techniques, you cannot be manipulated by others. Furthermore, this section does not invite you to use manipulative practices towards others, as what you give to the world is what you get back. Here are only a few. Diverting attention. In order to cover something up, someone's attention is diverted to something else. An example. In order to cover up a big lie towards someone, I offer or admit to a lesser lie. Attention is focused on the lesser lie, thus away from the bigger lie. Another example. A politician wants to divert attention from problems within his country or something bad he did and creates problems, an enemy, a disaster in another country. If you want to find out how easy it is to lead people's attention, stop on any street in the city and look upwards into the sky for a while. You will notice how others begin looking upwards too. Problem, reaction, solution. Someone who wants to sell something or have others believe something creates the problem. Then as others react, then offers the solution. This technique has the problem and solution coming from the same source without people being aware of it. Examples. A religious cult wanting to recruit followers do tests with peoples that create all their problems. Then they offer the solution. Another example. You go to visit a dentist. Because the dentist needs more money, he exaggerates the services you will require from him. Yet another example. Some government stages a terrorist attack on itself, blaming others, to justify attacking another country. In another example, an anti-computer virus company creating computer viruses to increase business. Mystery creator. Someone creates mystery in order to attract attention. Mystery hooks attention. If something is presented with a few interesting and known points, but many unknowns, attention is often sucked into the subject, sometimes causing many hours, days, or even a lifetime of preoccupation. Example. Someone makes only a few remarks concerning a subject while intentionally withholding the rest, in order to get someone interested. Then information is only revealed piece by piece to keep the person on the hook. Give and withdraw. Attention is first given to someone and then withdrawn. This is another way to fix someone's attention. Example, a man gives a woman more love, attention, care, and touch than she has received in years. She had been thirsting for it. Now it is given. Once she becomes addicted to the attention, he withdraws it, making her run after him. Offering what someone's attention is already on. Someone notices what someone else's attention is already on and offers exactly that, or acts like she can offer it. Example, a salesman who preys on people in desperate need of a certain solution. A flirter who notices what the desired person is interested in and acts as if she were interested in that too. Television BPM. BPM is my term for beliefs per minute. Watch any random TV show and you will notice the show offering dozens, sometimes hundreds of beliefs per minute, most of which you don't even want to have. It is only your agreement and consent by which such beliefs become your own or are reinforced. One method to implant beliefs into you is by getting your attention enthralled and fascinated or getting you emotionally charged by picture, music, color, stimulation, and then offering certain concepts and beliefs. Once you are aware that not beliefs choose you, but you choose beliefs, and that they are only beliefs, this method no longer works on you. If you are a fairly aware person, you can watch anything you want without it having detrimental effects on you. Again, you don't need to protect yourself from any of this if you are aware of it. Sometimes you will even enjoy and allow yourself to be manipulated by a nice person from the preferred sex, for example. Protection implies that you are not source of reality, but a victim, which you are not. It can, however, be somewhat interesting to observe how others let themselves be manipulated because they choose to ignore. Daily intention. If there's only one exercise from this book you choose to do regularly, then make it this one. It's a very simple one that is intended to get you used to placing your attention on what is wanted rather than what is unwanted. The exercise involves simply writing down what you want, wouldn't mind happening, or intend for any given day. It is done on a daily, or if not on a daily, then at least on a regular basis. You write down some big things and some little things, some realistic things and some unrealistic things. Things you would like to be, do, and have for the day. But there's one major rule to this game. You let go of any expectation that these things must happen, how or when or if they will happen. You are simply intending what would be nice, not what must happen. You don't go through the day demanding evidence of these things. Many of the things will not happen, but they will raise your vibration while you are writing them down and thinking about them. Some of the things will happen. These are mostly the things you have written down with a light and playful heart, without any expectational pressure. This exercise obscures the differences between things you label as realistic and unrealistic. You write down things that might happen anyway and things that are a bit more far out. The list may be short or long, depending on your mood for the day. It may be done the night before or the morning of the day. It may contain specifics or be kept general. Write down the intentions in past tense. Here's an example of a daily intention list. Took the car to the repairs. Got my hair cut. Met someone very interesting. Gave Susan more love than she's ever received. Surprisingly got 3 new customers. I got money unexpectedly. I felt a lot of energy. I had an out-of-body experience. My cat recovered. Remember, the only reason we keep experiencing the same things is because we keep using attention in the same way, investing it in the same things over and over. If you want to experience everything new, learn to use your attention in a different way. The 20-second look. Do you recall being a child and having some skin irritation or bad tooth and continuing to meddle and play around with it? Although quitting to dwell on it would cause the most relief, remember rubbing it in until it hurt more and more? It's strangely appealing, isn't it? Same thing with rubbing your thumb on sandpaper. It starts out feeling somehow pleasant and interesting, so you rub some more, and you miss the point where you ought to get off it and your hand gets bloody, but you continue anyway. This is the way many people handle attention. They say they want less pain and more joy, but keep rubbing it in by keeping their gaze and interest fixed to it. The 20-second look is very easy to do and facilitates rapid change. It simply involves looking at various things for 20 seconds. Nice things out there and nice things in here. Nice buildings, cars, people, nature, pictures, nice thoughts, and fantasies. Why 20 seconds? Because 20 seconds is what is needed to start getting into vibratory synchrony with something and feeling it. And because 20 seconds is too short to let doubts and second thoughts about what is being looked at come up. Some people will notice how things that are focused too long evoke secondary thoughts that are not aligned with that doubts. The quickie of 20 seconds doesn't allow for that type of stuff. That means you look at something for about 20 seconds, you don't need a stopwatch on this, and then you let go. Then you either focus the next thing for 20 seconds, and the next, and the next, and the next, until you get into a very positive flow, where you take a break from focusing and enjoy your rapidly changed state. It only took 20 seconds to make a shift. Even if that shift is small, it is a nearly immediate shift. If beginning this exercise in an abysmal state or a really low mood, you might need a few extra rounds to get back up to speed with your true self. If you make this simple little exercise to your week's exercise, you will notice how you stop looking for negative things and mind trash to focus on and go for what's beautiful and good. Actually, RC teaches that you don't have to deal with anything that you don't like. One exception: things that force themselves into your view repeatedly would need some attention. What you look at grows. This explains why the rich get richer and richer and why making the second million is so much easier than the first. Once one has the first million, one is surrounded by beautiful and wealthy things and doesn't need to put any effort into noticing that. If you don't have the million, you might be surrounded by things you dislike and might believe you are forced to look at these things. In this case, notice that there is beauty for you to look at anyway. Label your current surroundings in a more friendly manner and use your imagination to fill in the rest. If you don't have the beauty surrounding you, you can still claim it in your imagination and get in sync with it there. After you've gained some confidence in being able to move your attention from the unwanted to the wanted, you might go the next step, noticing the one who is looking. This will be the level of identity from which attention comes in the first place. To change identity goes even deeper than shifting attention, because in that way attention flows automatically to the right places with less and less necessity of having to shift it consciously. Scripting. Scripting is the powerful method of writing a movie script to a situation you want to manifest as reality. You are in the habit of looking at what was and what is. Scripting will help you to look at what is wanted. Scripting will help you visualize details of your desires. It will help you test the magical effects of focusing without resistance. Scripting works to manifest reality when you are not concerned with manifestation, but rather with enjoying writing the script. You don't do scripting in a state of tension, stress, must have, or must get. You write for the fun of it, and with ease and creativity. For scripting, you simply choose a topic you would like to experience as reality and start writing about it as a script, meaning as a story or dialogues and sceneries. It is written in the past tense as something that is already done and taken for granted as totally real. Take on the viewpoint that you are a scriptwriter and everything you write down does manifest, so be mindful of what you write. If you enjoy writing, or if writing is easier for you than inner visualizing, then you can script your whole life. Or you can script specific situations or topics. Or you can script instead of writing your diary, past, or your week's plan, present. Your only job in this is to have fun writing the script. The rest is taken care of by the producers, directors, and actors, infinity. You will notice that if you focus things softly, without neediness, without resistance against the negative, and when you're clear about what it really is you want, it will come to you relatively easily. Playfulness, not seriousness, is the magic of reality creation. Seriousness activates all kinds of dark and sinister beliefs. You may integrate things that you know will really happen or which you're going to do anyway, and mix them with creative additions, or you may make up the whole thing. Of course, you're not viewing this as making something up, but actually allowing the keys of your keyboard or the tip of your pen to be magical. The simple method of scripting touches on a lot of subjects, some of which I will only briefly outline here. It will show you how rigid, repetitive, and uncreative one's thinking, and thus one's day, used to be. It will also show you that writing about what is wanted rather than what happened, diary, is a more effective way of clearing the mind. The more you focus on a topic and the more details you add to it, the quicker the energy moves. With some practice, you'll get a feel of how you are moving energy and what type of writing moves energy. You will be delighted to notice how thing you wrote down come about in daily life, sometimes exactly as you wrote them. You're the author of your life. OceanoFPDF.com. 10 Beliefs in Reality. And now on how beliefs attract reality. This is no contradiction to the former chapters, but simply another way of looking at things. You may choose from which viewpoint, identity, attention, emotion, or belief creates reality. You wish to approach reality creation, or you may combine all methods. Beliefs are superior to emotions in that they determine what something feels like. In this sense, they cause emotions. Belief also determines where your attention goes and does not go. But you can also view it the other way around. Attention and emotion cause or create a belief. For the more attention and feeling you give a thought form, the more it becomes a belief. It's a two-way street. This is not meant to confuse you. How all elements relate and how they apply to parallel universe surfing will become clear to you. What is a belief anyway? It is a thought you keep thinking, whether you're fully aware of it or not. Many teachers talk about subconscious or unwitting beliefs being the most powerful because you're not aware of them. But it is not really that you are totally unaware of them, but that you hold them to be so true that you do not view them as beliefs. In this sense, there really is no such thing as unconscious or sublevel awareness or unwitting beliefs, but only things that appear so real. To you, it never occurs to you that it's only a belief, only one way of seeing reality. Imagine beliefs like sunglasses you are wearing. You most often do not look at the glasses themselves, but are looking through the glasses at the world. While the sunglasses may be apparent for outside viewers, they are only subtly or half apparent to you. You say, "This is what reality looks like. This is what is real," without noticing that it only looks like that through the sunglasses you are wearing. However, there's more to beliefs than that. You are wearing magnetic sunglasses which attract the events matching the belief. A belief is really nothing more than a thought. You think a thought, and when you think it more often, this thought accumulates other thoughts that are on a similar vibratory level. When a thought grows big enough, we could call it a belief. When a thought starts running on automatic and is pushed out of conscious awareness, we can call it a subconscious belief. A core belief is a fundamental definition, a presupposition of what something is or what reality is, something you term knowledge or truth. Something you're so convinced about you don't even question it. A belief is basically any thought, statement, which is a verbalized belief, mental image, or any definition of what is and what is not. In that sense, anything you think and say is a belief and based on other beliefs. A core belief is something many beliefs are based on. RC always involves recognizing what we thought of as fact. As merely a belief, we are projecting and shifting that to a preferred belief. It is common knowledge that your behavior and your actions are driven by your emotions. What is less known, but coming more and more to the awareness of this planet, is that your emotions are driven by your beliefs. In this sense, beliefs, emotions, and actions form a triad, a triangle, influencing and confirming each other. You believe something, and that creates a feeling. You feel something, and that creates an action. You act on something, experience it, and that confirms a belief. Most people think that seeing is believing. What they're saying is, "I'll believe it when I see it," or "I believe this because I experienced that," or "I am this in this way because this and that happened." In the reality creation worldview, it's just the other way around. In our view, believing is seeing. First, you have to believe something, then you will see it, then you will experience it. Because you are believing something, you are experiencing it. Most people will disagree, but that doesn't change the demonstrable fact that this view of things is much more workable and effective. When you experience something bad, there was a thought or a suspicion or a labeling about it that came before. Or there's a judgment of it while it happens that makes it seem a really bad experience. But no two people will experience the same thing in the same way. They will experience it according to their beliefs or judgments. And the way they label the event will determine how the event turns out for them. Since everything is energy, everything is essentially neutral, neither good nor bad. The way you label events will determine how they turn out for you, no matter how these events turn out for others. On many accounts, I've experienced myself and others being involved in disasters or accidents that did not affect us because we didn't believe they would. What you term thought, idea, opinion, knowledge, fact, concept, paradigm is a belief. These are different ways to refer to beliefs, and sometimes using these expressions attempts to mask the fact that they are simply beliefs. Reality creation acknowledges some fundamental paradigms of existence, but also these are beliefs nonetheless. And beliefs can be changed whereby reality changes. In reality creation, beliefs are like cars. They take you from one place to another. But once you don't like the car anymore, or once it doesn't work anymore, you can easily replace it. You are not forced to drive the same car for the rest of your life or at any place and any time. Before we talk about how beliefs are created to attract what you want in your life, let's talk about how to uncover and solve unwanted belief constructs. An important discernment. When we're talking about beliefs, we are not talking about what you think you believe or want to believe, but about what you really believe. There's often a major difference. It's often easier to find out what someone is believing by observing his experience than having him tell you what he believes. The uncovering of limiting beliefs is not to be applied as a witch hunt. It is often by looking for limiting beliefs that limiting beliefs are created in the first place. This is what many teachings fail to point out. Do not start creating the belief. I have a bunch of limiting beliefs I have to uncover before I can be myself. Limiting beliefs are only to be looked for when you are in a low or problematic state or experiencing the repetition of a problem. As we mentioned, you're mostly not looking at your beliefs, but as them. That's why it's helpful to write them down. If you write them out on paper, you have an easier time viewing them. Since your beliefs are reflected as outside reality, you can use outside reality to determine what you really believe. You don't have to go digging into the distant past to find them. Just look around at what you are experiencing, and it's quite obvious what you believe. Presupposing that you have a bunch of hidden, deep, super subconscious beliefs you have to figure out or release before you can move on is a very limiting belief in itself. Believing you have to find out something you don't know is yet another limiting belief. Therefore, use the belief techniques in the awareness that what you truly believe is quite obviously reflected in your daily life and does not need much searching. Another principle many teachings fail to point out is that there are actually no such things as self-sabotaging beliefs. All beliefs are taken on with a positive intent connected to survival, protection, or to enable you to experience something. Presupposing that someone would secretly sabotage himself, as many therapies, psychology, and New Age teachings do, is nonsensical. Every belief has its benefit. Every belief has its payoff. Every belief serves you in a certain way. Finding out how a belief labeled as negative actually serves you is a huge step to releasing that belief. Resistance, or the label negative, presupposes that you did not create it or did not create it for a good reason. But if you did not create it, you are not going to be able or willing to decreate it. This is where responsibility comes into play. You will most likely be able to decreate something you admit to having created, assumed, or taken over for a good reason. Releasing beliefs. If you wish an undesired experience not to happen anymore, all you have to do is find out what you want instead and apply pure to it. If that is too simple or quick for you, you may also walk the slower path by uncovering the beliefs creating the experience. First, choose a topic you would like to uncover your beliefs about. Then list your beliefs as answers to the following questions. Question 1. What would someone that is experiencing this have to believe? Question 2. What would someone who is doing this have to believe? Question 3. What would someone who is feeling this have to believe? Question 4. What are the thoughts that I have about this issue? Question 5. What am I trying to be right about? What am I making others wrong about? In answering these questions, you write down a list of beliefs on a piece of paper. Writing is a more powerful focus than only thinking. Thoughts are vague, ever-changing, and hardly observable. You'll have to get it all out on paper. Next, deepen your exploration of beliefs and even already start unraveling or neutralizing them by questioning your list of beliefs in the following way. Write down the answers as additions to your list. Question 6. How can I prove this statement to be true? This question will eventually lead you to core beliefs. Question 7. What is the payoff for believing this? What is my benefit that I am getting for believing this? How is this belief serving me? What can I be right about if I continue to create this? Once you have the whole list, we can begin to play. I often like to write down my beliefs, not as a list, but as different circles or bubbles to indicate the thought forms. And then from these circles, I associate beliefs connected to that. Any judgment or association to a belief is yet another belief supporting the original one. Now, on this whole list or collection of circles, you will find some statements that evoke reactions within you, emotional reactions. Sometimes the emotional reactions occur when you rephrase a statement in another way. Anyway, the ones you react to emotionally are more in the direction of core beliefs than the other statements. If you're sensitive enough, you can actually feel how some thoughts have more weight than others. It is these beliefs that need to be acknowledged. Their usefulness needs to be acknowledged and then replaced. But if you want to do a thorough job, you will acknowledge and replace all of them. At least mark the ones you feel have the most weight on your reality. You may also want to ask yourself which of the beliefs you wrote down were freely chosen by yourself, and which of those beliefs were indoctrinated from an outside source. And if you want to do a little extra, you may also number them by the degree of conviction you believe in them. 10 being, I'm totally convinced this is true, and 1 being, I totally doubt this is true. This little intermediate exercise will help you desensitize the beliefs even further. Finally, after you've examined and acknowledged each belief, noticing the interconnections, the contradictions and relations of these thoughts, it is time to replace them. On a separate piece of paper, write for the core beliefs, or in the long version of the exercise, for each and every belief what you want to think or believe instead. Write down thoughts that should replace the old thoughts. And if you want these new beliefs to stick, you will have to write down positive thoughts that are at the same time realistic, authentic, and easy to believe in the first place. Creating new beliefs. Having completed the former exercise, the next step is take the most important new beliefs and create a thought out of them, a mental image, a visualization, a daydream, a fantasy, a visualized representation of that belief, or imagine what your life would be like and what you would be doing if that belief were true. Attention! Do not have your visualizations be effortful, but rather allow pictures representing the beliefs to come up by themselves. Once you have your imagine, enter the embodied viewpoint of the person experiencing that reality already. The next step is to fill these new thoughts with emotion. Focus on a thought creates a new belief. Emotion activates it, and action grounds the new belief. So activate your new belief with emotion. Do whatever you must to feel joy, enthusiasm, gratitude, or excitement while visualizing the new belief. Attention! Do not have your emotion be forced or created. Rather, allow the emotion to well up because of the imagines you are experiencing. The final step of creating a new belief has 2 variations. One for the advanced practitioner, one for the beginner. If you have a deep body sense of your new belief, you simply rest in it and then let go of it and the whole exercise. You are done. Doing anything further to create, the belief presupposes that the belief is not already created. If you truly believe, then you will end the exercise here and simply go about your normal daily business and not concern yourself with the new belief anymore. Neither would you reaffirm or repeat it. Neither would you look for evidence of it. You'd put your attention to other issues of the day. You would take it for granted that your belief sticks. If you're a beginner in issues of conscious creation, or if you have a strong belief in physical reality, or a belief imagination is not real, one of the most limiting beliefs, then you'll have to ground your new belief in a physical reality, midwife the etheric energy into form. In this case, we'd be using the belief in physical reality not as a limitation, but as a resource. You do this by taking physical action that represents, symbolizes, or demonstrates the new belief. In order to do this thoroughly, get out a sheet of paper and answer the following questions. 1. What would someone be doing who really believes that it's already true? 2. What would someone be doing who is certain that this desire is reality? 3. What would someone do who is already living this reality? 4. What actions did you see yourself do in your imagination? And how could you copy these actions into physical reality? 5. What desires will you have when that one is already fulfilled? By acting as if something is already true, dressing that way, going to the places you would, getting things you would, taking part in events you would, by physicalizing your belief, you ground it in physical reality. You have got to come as close as possible to the real thing for the real thing to manifest more easily. Even if you role play it, act like it, you're training your body-mind consciousness to receive it so that it will not be a shock when it actually arrives. However, even the idea of acting as if is one step removed from total reality. Don't even act as if, but as the new belief or reality. That is the whole process of releasing old beliefs and creating new ones. You become aware of the old ones. You then become aware of the beliefs behind the beliefs. You desensitize or relativize these beliefs. Then you choose what you want to think or believe instead. Then you activate these beliefs with attention and imagination. Then you anchor or ground these beliefs by physical action. In your new feeling and new behavior, you will notice actual physical, real-life evidence as quick as within only 3 days. If you can upkeep your new vibration, you will experience a complete shift of your reality within only 3 weeks. I can now give you examples of how others have applied this miraculous process to our issues and successfully transformed them. I could give you examples of improved financial situations, improved health, improved relationships, improved perception, improved quality of life. But I will not, because the stories I tell you of others are not your stories. I want you to find out for yourself and not be pre-programmed or limited in your view on how to use these tools or what's supposed to happen. Use them yourself and in your own way. The working material is not to be found in this book, but within your own consciousness. Without you, your experiences, feelings, and memories, these tools don't mean anything. They get their energy from you. After your belief has manifested, with first evidence appearing after 3 days and concrete manifestation appearing after 3 weeks, you can decide if what you received is what you wanted. I'd recommend not to reaffirm or recreate that same reality before you've given it a few weeks' time to appear. Then, after the 3 weeks are through, you may refine or repeat the exercise if you wish. You may refine it according to what appeared. If you said, I want to meet an attractive partner, and that attractive partner did indeed appear, but without any brains, intellect, or zest, then you'll want to refine your belief to, I want to meet an attractive and intelligent partner. If you do all of this belief work in a playful and exploring way, you will have many interesting and fun times. If you get too serious or needy about it, don't even begin with this work. Neediness is the opposite of creative flow. If you need something or someone in order to be happy, you're not going to get it. Instead of needing it, love it. Truly, there is no other reality than what you define it to be. Some people say you have to be realistic. What they are saying is that they give the things that have been created and are already created more importance, reality, and solidity than the things that are wanted, that have become observers of the past, of what's been created. If you want magical reality creation to work, don't judge your experience from what was and what is, but what could be. Don't judge the day by what you reap, judge the day by what you sow. Don't judge the day by what you get, but by what you give and what you give off vibrationally. I'd like to conclude this chapter with 3 incredibly powerful exercises that immediately transfer you to the viewpoint of a creator and allow you to release unwanted beliefs. How does this serve me exactly as it is? Notice an unwanted condition and ask yourself, how does this serve me exactly as it is? Keep with the question until you find a satisfactory answer. What bad thing happens if the good thing happens? Note a desire you've had that hasn't fulfilled. Ask yourself, what bad thing happens if this manifests? Remain in this question until your heart answers. This tool is used when for some reason you remain convinced that you haven't manifested what you want. The question is not really answered by the mind or world self because it can't imagine that there is any benefit in not manifesting a certain desire. The question addresses the heart, which is why you become silent and open before posing the question. Stay receptive after you have asked it. The phrasing presupposes that non-fulfillment has some payoff, protects you from something, secures your survival, or upkeeps another creation you want to hang on to. Don't change the wording to what bad thing could happen or what bad thing would happen. Keep it straightforward. Actually, this question alone can get you into vibratory synchrony with what you want. It requires some vulnerability and honesty and is therefore not used very often and preferably not used on others. Also, don't use the tool if there's no real problem at hand, since using it or any other of these belief tools presupposes that you are not resting in your chosen identity. Reversing this question can also be a good tool in some cases. What good thing happens if undesired reality keeps happening? This question reveals that apparently undesired realities do have a secret benefit, a secret payoff. If they didn't, the person would not be experiencing them. Blessings in disguise. Should any challenges or problems come up on the timeline after the synchronization with your new identity, do not label these as interruptions of your newly chosen life, but part of the process. Label them as beneficial tools, servants and things with hidden uses and resources. Abuse them for your chosen identity. Make use of them for your benefit. See them as blessings, perhaps initially in disguise. See them as training tests, as magnificent opportunities to try out your new viewpoint/identity. Threshold of believability. This is a powerful exercise with which you can change core beliefs. You take a reality you desire and define a time span in which you are 100% sure, belief, the reality will take place or manifest. By when are you 100% sure you will be experiencing that? Are 10 years enough for it? Then say 10 years. Then work back from this defined time, finding the threshold of believability. What about 9 years? Would you also be able to experience that within 9 years? Yes. For sure? Okay. Fine. How about 6 years? Yes. For certain? Okay. Let's work back until we find the first doubts coming up. How about 3 years? Maybe? There we go. We've found the time at which certainty turns into uncertainty. Let's go back up. How about 4 years? Yes. Okay. Then let's stick with 3 years. 3 years is the threshold. Now define why you are not sure that your desire can manifest by this time. Uncover the belief. Once you have uncovered the reason, belief, why maybe it cannot be achieved by this time, formulate a belief that is easy to believe and state why you can make it in 3 years. Once you've established that and are truly 100% certain you will make it in 3 years, you can leave it at that and enjoy your transformation down from 10 to 3 years till manifestation, where you can now start at that point and break it down even further, working your way backward through time until you reach a new threshold. With your new belief, you think you can also make it in 2 years. Good. 1 year. Not so sure. Okay. Why? All right. What can you and do you want to believe instead? Etc. Rightness. Needing to be right is a form of intense conviction, often concerning an unwanted reality. The question is, would you rather be right or fulfilled? Write down a desire you have. Write down your strongest doubt or counter-belief on that desire. Then write down why you are right that that is so, why you can prove that that is so. This is called miscreating. Now write down the opposite of your desire, expressing how you're going to fail. List the strongest doubt you have to this statement. And now write down why you're right about this or can prove that this doubt or objection is true. This is called creating, penetrating, and releasing some typical core beliefs. Become/penetrate, then dissociate from the following beliefs in this row and order. What you feel like at the moment. What you think about this exercise. A belief that this exercise might not work. Something you think you can't release. Your concept of future. Your concept of past. Your concept of present. Your concept of where you are, location. Your concept of a body. Your concept of a mind. Your concept of who you are, identity. Your concept of what a spirit is. Your concept of what a higher self is. Your concept of earth. Your concept of physical reality. Your concept of birth. Your concept of being human. Your concept of how you are supposed to feel now. Your concept that there is something you don't know. Your concept that there is something you can't do. Your concept that there is something you can't have. Your concept that there is something you can't be. Your concept of what else exists. Your concept of what is still left. What is not a belief? Everything is a belief, even the belief that there are some things that are not a belief, but a fact. Of course, there are different orders of belief that are, in a relative sense, more factual than others. There are a number of beliefs that you wouldn't want to view as beliefs or release, because they are part of the package you agreed to when incarnating on this planet. They assure your functioning in this time and space and within regularly organized society. Creating the reality, I can fly with the body might, at least in this world and time, be in stark conflict with other beliefs you have agreed to upon your arrival here. And as such, trying to create things like that can cause major disruptions. Beliefs, or definitions about what reality is, make up the entire world. They are the powerful concrete on which all reality is built. Things don't just happen or work. They only happen or work because you agree, believe, or imagine they do. If any higher order of belief can be determined, then it's what one might call laws of the universe, or laws of infinity, or axioms of existence, or the nature of things. One could carefully say that they are active no matter what you believe. Some examples of such overall working order beliefs. You exist, which implies that non-existence is not an option. Everything changes, except for these laws of the universe. Reality corresponds with your beliefs. Like attracts like. Nobody can create for someone else. You are responsible for what you create, even if you are not aware of it. You cannot take on beliefs that contradict these universal laws. If you don't believe them, the laws correspond with your disbelief. Infinity is ultimately a pure positive flow of energy, always and forever accessible to you. Your intentions for others are only effective when others allow them to be. Others' intentions for you are only as effective as you allow them to be. What you intend for others, you intend for yourself, as infinity is one. So these are some of the higher order beliefs that, at least in our context of existence, cannot be changed by your beliefs. Apart from these universal laws are a collection of beliefs about the structure and nature of physical reality which needn't be messed with either. Messing with these would be like messing with the system commands of your computer. Example: as long as you live on Earth, you may view a tree as a tree. And when that tree has fallen down due to a storm, you may view the tree as having fallen down. Anything apart from this obvious appearance is yours to choose, e.g., that's bad, that's good, it's a nice tree, or levels such as I can communicate with the tree, etc. Of course, it is possible to recognize. It's only my belief that that is a tree and deconstruct the belief, by which the tree may turn into a halo of energy. But why do that? You would be deconstructing the scenery of your planetary incarnation, deconstructing your humanness and body. This may be advisable practice for some far-out shamans, but it's not necessarily the purpose you came here for, which is to enjoy life and all its versions. Beliefs about reality creation. This is a special class of beliefs about RC and how all this stuff works itself. This type of belief is often overlooked. Playing with or shifting this type of belief can change how reality creation works for you. This book is full of this type of class of beliefs, some of which radically change what people have been taught by other New Age teaching type sources. But even some of the beliefs presented in this book may be limiting from your perspective. If so, you are free to define other parameters of RC. It's all up to your creativity. As the self-responsible, multidimensional being that you are, I would assume you'd create your own truths and techniques and ways of handling the mystery of life. Beliefs about RC can be deepened or released. A few examples of such beliefs. I have to release my old beliefs before I create new ones. Now, to some, this belief will be beneficial, to others not. Any belief can either be beneficial or not. There was a time when I really deeply believed this, because it's what I was taught at various seminars and workshops. But as I hint at in this book, over time I loosened my grip on this belief and realized that it is not an absolute must shift the old before entering the new, but that truly entering the new makes the old obsolete. My chosen creations take a long time to come true versus my chosen creations come at just the right time. The first statement is a beneficial belief if you want manifestation to take a long time, but absolutely counterintentional if you want things to manifest quickly. The second statement is a bit better, a bit more released, and will feel ideal to many. But even it can become a limitation if it draws your attention to outer manifestation rather than inner alignment. Noticing your beliefs about reality creation, many of which you have picked up in books like this one, and shifting them to what you prefer can be a very rewarding area of exploration. Books, seminars, and CDs on the subject provide anchors or middlemen that help you to believe in reality creation. But what they teach does not have to be taken at unchangeable face value. This absolute trust in an authority outside yourself is a bit irresponsible, especially in the light of the fact that many teachings are still colored by viewpoint limitations of our time. There are no limits to your own imagination. You can come up with even better techniques and beliefs and claim them. In my coaching work, I've always had people ask me about the inner workings of RC. But the fully developed wizard needn't ask. His own creative authority determines how things work. If someone has taught you that you need to do 100 affirmations a day and you believe that it will work to some extent, but do you even want to do that? If yes, fine. If not, you can choose to believe and feel that 3 a day will do. You can even teach yourself that you don't need any at all because you eliminate the middleman of affirmation and go directly for what you want by identifying with it. One of my intentions with this book was to change many of the presuppositions of how reality creation works. One example, I view intentions and beliefs as synonymous, as the very same thing. Why? Many, when they say, I have this belief, they don't feel responsible for it as they would when they say, I have this intention. Viewing a reality you dislike as an intention you have immediately presupposes the creator's responsibility, which makes it easier to release, as you can only release what you admit to create. Skepticism, a blessing and a curse. Skepticism is a blessing in that only an idiot would unquestioningly grin while jumping down a balcony in the mistaken belief he can fly. Without skepticism, we would not question our beliefs and would not progress. Skepticism is a curse in that in order to create a reality, all skepticism in that reality must be released. One must immerse oneself with full conviction. So, rather than saying skepticism is good or no good, let's use it for our benefit. Concerning your dreams and desires, give up all skepticism, intellectual reasoning, and hesitation. Concerning unwanted beliefs, counterintentions, and limiting or unhappy situations, be skeptical and doubtful of them. Core beliefs. While your reality flows from our deepest intentions and not from your superficial considerations or necessarily what we would immediately notice, these deep-seated and extremely powerful intentions are not difficult to discover. Your deepest beliefs are even more easily noticeable when you understand the following. Consciousness is holistic. It therefore follows that a core belief manifests in more than one area of your life. By looking at one tiny part of your life, you can figure out what a core belief is that is influencing large parts of your life, or vice versa. This knowledge is extremely useful if you have some part of your life that seems too emotionally charged to handle or to create a new self version with. Some things may be so charged you're not even willing to acknowledge the reality as a belief or even feel anything when trying to connect to a new self version. But that is no longer a problem. All you have to do is look at a subject that is less emotionally charged or fixed in which you have a similar feeling. That is, if you feel stuck in that one area, look at which other, smaller area you feel stuck in. The things you are stuck in are based on core beliefs, and a major defining trait of core belief is that it manifests in more than one area of your life. This means that all you have to do is look at the less charged area, and from that deduct the core belief. Having noticed, released, that belief, all areas in which it is affecting you, release as well. In simple words, you can release emotionally charged issues without digging around in them, but by solving something else, something smaller, you will automatically solve that other bigger. An example, let's say you feel stuck in your professional career. Applying the core belief technique, you would then look for a similar feeling in another area, for example, in your relationship to your partner. Once you find a similar issue, you would determine which of them is less charged or smaller. You may find that the relationship issue is more charged because you get tired when trying to identify with the preferred self version. And you find that the career issue is less charged and that you are able and willing to align with a new self version here. By creating something new for your work, you directly or indirectly change the other area in which the same core belief was operating. So not only would your career improve, but also your relationship would reflect the release of a major belief, respectively, the new identity. This is really good news to people who have been struggling with core beliefs for a long time, because even if one area feels unsolvable, you can achieve results in this area by addressing an area of similar problem or feeling, but less emotional charge. By choosing the easier issue and creating a new version of self for it, you leave the core belief that was influencing more than one area behind. The areas of your life are interconnected, and law of correspondence doesn't prefer one area to another, but permeates the whole self. Change a core belief, and suddenly you have access to new information, new experience, new people seemingly coming out of the woodwork to assist you. Every problem is a solution for something else. The reality surfer handles problems as follows. He uses them to his benefit. He abuses them for his own goals. He misuses them for the positive. He does not only take the bull by the horns, but also rides the bull to better places. He lets the problems serve him. This approach is radically different from that of the teary-eyed victim we see on a daily basis on the front pages of the yellow press, who sees any type of interesting challenge as negative and invalidates everything that could serve him instead of appreciating. A specific example, Tim lost his job today, and that's absolutely great. Now, he finally has the time to work on the things he really loves, and thus finally time to allow a flow of abundance into his life. There was an earthquake. Thousands of people died. This is the ideal and perfect time to cultivate the subjects of mutual support, improving the world and appreciation towards life. There's been a blizzard outside. This is Ted's opportunity to stock up his pocket money by helping others get out of the snow. I just lost $1 million. What a great opportunity to prove that what is quickly lost can just as quickly be regained. I have a headache. What a great thing. Now I can explore my body's behavior, lazy around, or even try out my self-healing skills. His wife dumped him. Excellent. Now he can finally devote himself what he had been avoiding all this time, to become a better person. I died. Wow, perfect. This is the best time to explore other levels of existence. How does the problem serve you exactly as it is? For what is the problem solution? How can you use this problem for the good of all concerned? The problem is the solution. Here's an even more holistic way to view problems. A problem is nothing more than the resistance to a situation. The object or situation itself is not the problem, but your way of looking at it. When you resist the situation, it becomes a problem and more problems appear. When you accept the situation, the problem turns into its solutions and more solutions appear. Both things are contained within the situation. The difference is viewpoint. Resistance binds you to the issue and lets it persist. Acceptance releases you from the situation and lets solutions come up. As long as you are resisting a problem, you are resisting its solution. Accepting something does not mean you desire it or want it to continue. It means you stop giving it energy by fighting it. Take a problem you seem to be having and sit down with it. For now, give up criticism, invalidation, conclusion, judgment. Become silent. Start having a conversation with the enemy. Make friends with it. Give up the limited world self viewpoint and shift into a deeper kind of interest, as if the enemy were a messenger of something valuable. Listen to what it has to say. Understand the message. If you pay attention a little, you'll notice that the so-called problem is actually a solution for something else. An example. If smoking is the problem, acceptance will show you that smoking is being done as a solution for feeling tense. Then you realize the issue is not really about smoking, but about relaxing. Relaxing is the solution you want, and the information was contained in the problem. Every problem serves you, otherwise you wouldn't be creating it. Having a problem means not having listened properly while life was trying to tell you something. And once you consciously create the preferred you, the problem is no longer a problem. Without the resistance, a problem is merely a wake-up call to a better version of yourself. It's that simple. Follow the wake-up call, and the solution that was there all along will reveal itself to you. The meaning of it all. What is the meaning of life? Life has the meaning you ascribe to it. Other than that, there is no meaning. All that is, or energy, are neutral and behave according to the meaning you create. What meaning, importance, label, judgment you ascribe to something, wittingly or unwittingly, determines what that thing will become for you, if it will behave to your advantage or disadvantage. Everything that exists has no built-in, inherent meaning. Infinity is a neutral, empty, impersonal vastness, not to be mistaken with hopeless or senseless or cold, with which we can play. Everything that exists in your field of perception, everything you see, hear, feel, experience, are like neutral film props. And you may use all these props for the various scenes and dramas of your life. Everything can, without exception, be of value and service to you if you ascribe this value. Anything can turn out good for you if you allow it to. Every person, object, event can be of positive value to you. All these things do not contain inherent qualities of positive and negative. They are neither good nor bad. They just are. By understanding this, your life becomes even more magical. Giving meaning to, or labeling, something is another variation on belief/intention. Consider an event, any event. This event consists in trillions of different versions. The moment you label the event, you filter out one specific version of the event, and it becomes just that for you. Label a job loss a disaster, and it becomes just that, according to your word. Label a job loss a great chance to have something better, and it becomes just that, according to your word. Nothing is forcing you to label things the way others label them, or the way you have labeled them up to now. Your labels are learned labels, and you can unlearn them. Due to the hardcore conditioning and indoctrination we all pass through, it can seem as if certain things have a certain inherent, non-arbitrary meaning. This appearance is even stronger with meanings and definitions that masses of people agree upon are so. Example, that is a house. Its purpose is to live in it. This section is not meant to get too abstract and start questioning if a house is a house, and if its purpose is to live in it. It will be possible to also give that definition up and find yourself in a new reality in which those structures are not houses at all, but something entirely different. But what we are going for here first and foremost is to add a more pleasant and flexible dimension to your life. By teaching you that nothing is fixed except by your judgments and definitions about reality and who you are. Choose an event that happened some time ago. Now get playful and creative and interpret that event from the viewpoint of someone that's in a terrible mood. Next, interpret the event from the viewpoint of someone who is in a neutral mood. Finally, interpret the event from the viewpoint of someone who is in a cheerful mood. Notice how the event changes? If you have difficulty switching directly from a negative to a positive judgment about something, the intermediary step of neutral will help you. That means you'd first go from negative to neutral, and then from neutral to positive, or even stay at neutral if that's what you prefer. Now observe some event or thing you automatically label negative and ask yourself, in which way does this thing serve me? How could it be useful? If you're a bit more courageous, you ask, in which way is this event evidence that my life works to my best and my desires are unfolding? Understand, electricity is neutral. It can either be used to burn someone on the electric chair or to warm someone in an electric blanket. It all depends on the interpretation of the one viewing it. Let's deepen the concept by giving you some first-hand experiences with it. Observe any object near you. Relax. Now label it as ugly, negative, bad, stupid, dangerous. Keep your attention with the object and simply feel. And see what aspects of the object you're noticing most. Next, label the same object as positive, beautiful, interesting, useful, nice. Keep your attention with the object and feel. Notice what aspects of it you notice now. Next, Label the same object as what it is, neutrally. Next, observe the object and don't label it at all. Repeat this a few times with a few objects. Let it be your next meditational exploration. There are some lessons within this exercise that go beyond the obvious ones just described. 4 basic states are contained in the exercise, and each one of them is useful. Resistance, negative label. Appreciation, positive label. Neutral, label as is, and no label, silence. If you wish to demonstrate the pure magic of this to an even deeper extent, try the following. Get 2 glasses of water that look and taste the same. Have a group of people label one of the drinks as negative, disgusting, repulsive, poisonous, bad, old, evil, dirty for a minute or 2. Have someone mark this glass with a small dot of a certain color. Have a group of people label the other drink as positive, fresh, healthy, good, clear, beautiful, tasty, delicious for a minute or 2. Mark this glass with another dot of another color. On a piece of paper, you indicate which color stands for which drink. Then, you have a test person take a sip from each of the drinks and tell you which one tastes better. In a phenomenal 80% of the cases, you will have the test person getting it right, a figure which is beyond any probability. Let's deepen your awareness of label magic even more. Spot something, for example a book, and declare important. Give reasons why it is important. Afterwards, declare the same thing as unimportant. Give reasons why it is unimportant. Play around with this with various things, objects, and even thoughts and ideas. Notice how we all create importance and unimportance on a daily basis, and how it is the importance we ascribe that determines where our attention and other people's attention goes. Think about how this will benefit your business. Want more? There are an abundance of applications for this knowledge. Observe something you feel obliged to do this week, of which you say, "It has nothing to do with my heart's desires." Now declare that this errand does have everything to do with your heart's desire and will even support you in it. Label it as something that belongs. Then see what becomes of the errand. People keep asking what things mean. See if you can spend 1 week of your life without asking any questions and instead giving answers. When you notice yourself starting to ask questions like what is, or why is, or what does mean, stop yourself and instead use statements beginning with it, is, and it means. For every why you hear from someone, immediately answer with because. The purpose of this exercise is to ease your addictions to answers from outside and return to self-determination and the ability to say what something means to you. While applying the exercise, you are no longer the needy searcher, but the one defining what reality is. If you are asking yourself what the difference between lying and reframing or relabeling is, here is the simple answer. Let's assume someone had an accident and is walking around on crutches. A lie would be to say, well, he didn't have an accident and he is not on crutches. All is well. Relabeling would be, now he's finally got time for other things than football. Isn't that great? The world is full of props. But of all of the props that you can assign certain meanings, importances, and relevances to, some props, objects, and symbols have already been assigned a high degree of significance by mass consciousness. You can use the props that are already loaded with energy to your benefit. This is the secret behind the talisman and the secret of manipulating people with symbols that have been labeled as significant. There are many things we already assign certain meanings to, and they have developed a life of their own, now seeming to possess this meaning inherently. Most of the time, this brings us joy. We've assigned a good mood to sunshine, and when the sun then comes out, our mood changes to the better. But our automatic labels can also become a serious limitation, and it doesn't have to be that way. Let's take what time is it as an example. What meaning does it have if it's 7 p.m. and you haven't had dinner yet? What meaning does it have that it's midnight? What meaning does it have that it's midday? What meaning do we ascribe to certain times of the day? In which way can these type of associations enslave us? In which way can they serve us? Our reality is made up of many chains of definitions. Sickness means this, and if I'm sick, it means this and that this has to be done, then this and that also means that. Change a definition and you change reality. Point one way to temporarily be definitionless is to go into non-conceptual silence without reaction. When you go into silence, You quit labeling things at all. And when you quit labeling things and defining things, then nothing is created. And where nothing is created, you become that which is beyond creation, infinity. And that's a viewpoint from which it is relatively easy to create something new. If you want to experience a very nice state of high, take a walk and label everything you perceive as it is without adding anything good or bad or any own interpretation. Call a house and a tree. After a while, you will start feeling pretty high. Do you know why? You come home and your house is burning. The negative label would be, this is a tragedy. My life is lost. I will never recover from that hit. Why do these things happen to me? As a side note, it would be even more detrimental to have that label and suppress it. The neutral label would be, my house burned down. This might bring some complications with it. The positive label would be, my house burned down. That's excellent, because I was starting to feel imprisoned in that house, getting really bored and lifeless with it and all its clutter I've been hanging on to for years. I am now free of all of that burden and can now create what is really me. I thank God for this release. Once someone understands that the label will determine what reality he will get out of any situation and that there are millions of different versions of one event, he can start playing with labels instead of buying into one single version of reality. The less self-trust one has in himself, the more he is going to label something in a way that he can be a victim of it. Watch what labels you have that come up automatically. And if the negative label is your first and most honest reaction, then allow that. Allow it to play out. Verbalize it, don't suppress it. Exaggerate it if you want, but then consciously relabel the situation so that it gets more neutral. And then take the jump to a label that is satisfying to you. Removing labels, as happens automatically in meditative silence, allows us to experience life directly without any presuppositions and definitions to go with it. Living life without filters can be an even more exhilarating experience than living it with positive filters. It is because of our constant labeling of the world that we lose a clear perception of reality as energy. Automatic negative labels are, however, very detrimental to your reality. Let's assume you've consciously created the reality of having a job that is right for you, and you now rest in that field of energy. The day of the job interview comes, and the human resources person tells you that you can't have the job, that they are not interested in you. Now, if you buy into this and label this situation as, well, I failed, I am not getting the job I want, then indeed that's how reality will start unfolding. But if in that very situation you can remain calm and convinced that the job is yours, the person sitting across from you will either suddenly change his mind, or you'll be offered another opportunity somewhere else. It's all your choice. There's no such thing as negative. Labeling something as negative is a habitual convention. Everything is neutral energy, and what this energy transforms into depends on our label. As a beginner of RC, one learns to put attention on the things one finds positive already, the things one labels positive. An advanced stage of RC, you go one step further and learn to find the jewel in the negative. This is the opposite of victim consciousness. It is radically responsible and radically source and radically positive. Creative denial does not mean to suppress or ignore the negative, but secretly still believe in it. That would be psychological denial. Creative denial means confronting it and changing it to something beneficial, something that serves you, something for which there is some payoff. Everything your soul experiences, it experiences for a good reason. To assume otherwise is to assume that there is some evil force after you. Labeling something as bad implies that you did not create it, for you would probably not want to admit to have created something bad or useless. The very reason most people don't want to believe they create their reality 100% is because that would mean admitting to mistakes, because they label many of their experiences as negative, and why would I create something like that? When you start realizing that all these events you label bad were created and experienced for a very good reason, for your growth, experience, and learning, you'll have an easier time taking responsibility for them and even make use of them. It's in your evaluation that they are bad, that they are not allowed to serve some purpose. Talking badly about an ex-partner, a job, or earlier experiences shows that you do not appreciate the learning experience, which is why it will be repeated in your life. Good and bad. A beautiful parable from ancient China makes the point of there is no inherent negative a bit more clear. There is a poor farmer and his son living on a farm back in days when owning a horse meant a fortune. One day a horse comes grazing on the farmer's land. By local law, this meant that the horse belonged to him. His son was ecstatic with joy. The villagers all commented, "What good fortune!" But the farmer remained calm and said, "Who knows what's good or bad?" A few days later, the horse disappeared and the farmer's son was heartbroken. The villagers looked upon the farmer with pity, but the farmer remained calm and said, "Who knows what's good or bad?" On the next day, the horse returned with a herd of dozens of other horses. The son couldn't believe his luck. The villagers were stunned, congratulating him on his good fortune. But the farmer remained calm and said, "Who knows what's good or bad?" Another few days passed, and the farmer's son was riding one of the wild horses when the horse threw him off, and he broke his leg. Agonizing, he cursed the horses and that they had even appeared. The father got a doctor and attended to his son. He held him, looked him deep in the eye, and said, "My dear son, who knows what's good or bad?" Only a week later, the country's army came through town to recruit all men as soldiers. The only one they did not recruit for war was the son because he had a broken leg. The son represents our reactive self that is swept back and forth by desire and resistance, forever reacting to circumstances. The father represents the observer mode, source awareness that can determine itself what is good or bad, or make no determination whatsoever. OceanoFPDF.com. 11. Imagination and reality. Imagination would have the potential to create reality if it weren't for how we label imagination, what we believe about it. Early on, we are taught that imagination is only imagination and that it did not have much use or value. Okay, some will admit that it is important for art, economic inventions, and creativity. But compared to what imagination is really capable of, these are shallow remarks. The main problem is that we've been taught to differentiate between imagination and reality. Imagination has become a synonym for unreal. This is quite tragic because imagination is not only real, it is the source of what most people call reality. The only reason imagination has lost its power is because we assign more solidity, reality, importance, significance, validity to the physical world our senses perceive. It is because we assign them this meaning that they appear to be more solid and real than imagination. Why we taught ourselves this? In order to be focused on this world to a greater extent, to protect us from losing focus of this world, to protect us from our every thought becoming real instantly. This protection is valid and can be kept in place. Here we simply want to loosen it a bit to allow more experience to flood into our life. There is no difference between the physical matter surrounding you and imagination. There is no difference between an imagined rose and a real rose, except in your definition. It is this definition that has imagination appear as subtle energy and matter as densified energy. Anything you can imagine is real in some sense and on some plane. And as long as you keep your definitions of reality in place, your imagination will manifest on some other plane, not this one. When properly used, your imagination has the power to influence your everyday life in very specific ways. Imagination is not only a tool of reality manifestation, it's even more than that. It is a source of information that can reveal quite a lot about your personality, your abilities, and next steps to take. Your imagination is there for a reason. Images in the mind don't just pop up for no good reason. Use the beautiful tool you have been given. Use imagination as a guidance tool. What is your imagination telling you? Act on it. What is it showing you? Learn from it. The easier it is for you to imagine something, the closer this something is to your current vibratory set point. The harder it is for you to imagine something, the further away it is from your current state and possibility. There is much to be learned from the last two statements. I will not rob you of your journey of self-discovery by describing everything in detail. Find out for yourself how imagination relates to the other modes of consciousness we've discussed up to now. Emotion. Imagination can create emotional energy vibration easily. Vice versa, certain imaginary images are activated by emotion. Practically, this means if you don't want something imaginary to manifest on the physical plane, don't feel anything while imagining it. Reduce emotional reaction. If you do want to quicken a mental image into physical experience, then add emotions such as gratitude, excitement, euphoria, and love. Attention. The more attention you place on an imaginary image, the more importance, solidity, and reality it gains. The less attention you invest in it, the less reality it gains. Belief. Beliefs are created by adding attention, emotion, and a body sense to a mental image. Action. By copying what you see yourself doing in your imagination into active physical reality, you can quicken a manifestation. How about taking a week's vacation from the facts and instead trusting your imagination as real? How about being grateful for something before it really happens, being grateful that it already happened? What would happen to your life if you make the inner authority of daydreams more important than the outer authority of factual circumstances? Would that be an escapist attitude? No, it wouldn't, unless you label it that way. When you resist nothing, there is nothing to escape or distract yourself from. If you believe in your inner dreams, they soon override the authority of outer circumstances and become outer circumstances themselves. Intensifying imagination. Imagine a pleasant scenery, for example, an ocean beach. Allow it to intensify on the following imaginational modes. Visual. Have your picture be more colorful or see more about it. Give the ocean a deeper blue. Notice palm trees in the distance. Audio. Add sounds. Hear the rush of the waves. Turn up the volume. Reality. Add more reality to the image by adding dimensional depth, by intensifying your conviction that it's real, by smelling and tasting, and especially by touching and tactily feeling the objects. Let the sand run through your hand. Emotion. Finally, allow positive emotion to flow through you as you experience the picture. The whole point of the exercise is experiment with your imagination. Get to know it to the extent that you've built a relationship to your imagination. Wouldn't it be nice if? This is a beautiful technique to gradually train your mind into reaching for higher thoughts. The technique is to simply spend a few minutes or more beginning every sentence with the words, "Wouldn't it be nice if?" Here you simply speculate on what would be nice, without any force or expectation that it really has to occur. You're not using this technique as a strategy to make something happen out there, but to feel playful in the here and now. Little and big. Infinite Self does not differentiate between little things and big things. Only World Self does. Thinking that something small is easier to manifest than something big is yet another label. It is a belief about how reality creation works, and you might want to release it because it's not especially helpful. Little things only seem to manifest more easily because we're not desperately pushing, needing, waiting for them to happen, but often approach them in a lighthearted, playful way. If you have been raised on this planet, chances are you hold this belief about easy and hard. Try something out. If you've been trying to manifest something big for a while and it hasn't manifested, then apply RC technique on something you consider easy or small. Notice how quickly it shows up in your life. That's certainly enjoyable, but it also reveals that you make a difference between small and big. The same quick efficiency can apply to big things. Life is a dream. RC teaches that the world out there is merely a reflection of the world in here, and therefore a dream, just like your night dreams or imagination dreams. When you dream at night, you often think the events, landscapes, things, and people are separate from you, the dreamer. Except when you're lucid dreaming, in which you not only know you're dreaming, but also notice you are creating the dream. The dream seems to be something that you are not deliberately creating. After you wake up in the morning, you realize, oh, it was all a dream, and you understand that all things in the dream were part of your psyche, were all within you. While immersed in the dream, the I in the dream views all events as separate. The awakened I notices that the entire dream and its contents to be a creation of its own consciousness. What seems separate is all within me. And after awakening, you can look at the symbols of the dream to consider their meaning and find out what you were telling yourself at night. One part of self is immersed in dream action and loses awareness of the overall self that knows it's only a dream and is observing the whole action from outside of the dream body. But both, immersed self and observing self, are always present. The two versions are the immersed one who is acting as the dream figure, and the one who is observing the dream self, the lucid dreamer. And now, the revelation. The exact same thing applies to your waking life. This means you can gain considerable benefit from viewing your daily waking life as a dream, another dream. And from the perspective of a night dreaming self, it is. From that perspective, waking life is the dream and dream life is real. But both are basically the same type of illusion on different levels of vibratory density. In everyday reality, we have an immersed viewpoint who is identified with some experience and an observing viewpoint that is not immersed and not limited to the body, not looking as an identity. The embodied viewpoint moves through the world of things, people, and circumstances that seem to be separate from it. But just as you awaken in a night dream, you can also awaken in waking life and realize it's all happening within me. You can view the things in waking life just as you would view dream objects and events, as symbols or mirrors of consciousness. Every experience you have, and especially those that capture your attention or are emotionally charged in some way, are a tool for self-reflection and thus deeper fulfillment and alignment with the desired self version. You can see waking life as the dream that it is. This requires you to be lucid in waking life, to take a step back out of immersion, gain perspective, be the witness, and perceive what an event means or how it corresponds to your inner self. RC is not a one-way street, especially once you create something or claim something within. Infinity will start communicating with you and showing you symbols and coincidences in your daily life. Our beliefs/identity is how we talk to infinity. In the waking dream, events in daily life is infinity's way of talking to us. Intuitive guidance, pointers, impulses, information, it's all there if you open your eyes. Only the stupid trivialize or ignore the guidance being offered. RC is not just about sending wish lists into the universe, but about entering a lifelong dialogue with infinity. And this is where being silent comes into beneficial use yet once again. While you are immersed in the rush of events, you cannot read the deeper meaning of events during your day. Daily life is a letter higher self is sending you. What you are experiencing is all about you. Wake up. Nothing happens independently of you. You understand that reality creating is actually reality co-creating, and start listening to what infinite self is saying in response to your creations. Imagination and parallel universes. Understanding parallel universes means understanding imagination as something very different than what we have been taught. It is a new understanding of what imagination is that will open many gates for you. Within RC, the distinction between real and unreal is not made. If any distinction is made, then it is between real and manifest. Something has to be real in a parallel universe already in order to manifest. Just because you're not perceiving it doesn't mean it's not real. There are many events taking place in this world right now that you do not perceive. That does not mean they are not real. There are many programs on TV you're not seeing at the moment. That does not mean that they are not being shown. To think of something as unreal just because your specific little viewpoint doesn't perceive it is quite presumptions, actually. World self experiences only a tiny percentage of all that is at a time. Imagination and desires are bleed-throughs from a parallel reality version of self who is already and really experiencing something. Someone else is already having that experience, and you are feeling that as a desire. In this sense, you can only desire something that is already yours. If it weren't, you wouldn't be feeling it, couldn't be imagining it, and wouldn't even be aware of it. The only thing missing now is that you correspond with it one-to-one rather than slightly out of phase with it, which is what a desire is, being slightly out of phase with a certain reality. If you were too far removed from that reality, you wouldn't feel any desire for it. Even the most basic understanding of the many worlds model can fill you with appreciation and amazement for the infinite creativity of being. Every split off reality appearing with its own whole history and timeline and mood, and each of these realities splitting again from eternity to eternity. Do you know why the concept sparks so much excitement and interest? Because it's the next big thing. From our perspective, it's a future science. And after humanity has passed through some turmoil and games and get bored of the struggle, they will start turning their attention to the fun and vastness of being. When you practice RC, you shift into a parallel reality. The reason why, after you open your eyes, your surroundings appear to be relatively the same is because you have a built-in protection system that keeps you from shock experiences. It will be possible to open your eyes after pure and see a completely different surrounding too, but that would be too much for a majority of the beings walking around at this state. The protection system allows for the newly chosen world to form slowly and gently around you as not to short-circuit your nervous system. Some people, when using pure experience, sudden uncontrollable jolts of the muscles. These are the same muscular jolts sometimes experienced when one is falling asleep. What do they mean? They indicate an abrupt or sudden shift in vibration/energy, a sudden shift in state of being. In my experience, they're all right to have, but if you don't wish to experience them, go easy, slow down. Still understand that when you reopen your eyes after having immersed yourself in a new identity/imagination, you are in a different universe before. If you remain in it, this universe becomes your main universe. There are plenty of hard science indicators that an identity shift causes a reality shift, but here is just one of the more extreme examples. In researching multiple personality disorder, it has been proven again and again that extreme changes can occur when someone shifts identity. In clinical studies of MPD, people have been witnessed to lose 20 pounds within a few days. Facial scars suddenly disappeared completely as if they had never been there, or returned when they shifted back. People's voices, memories, and looks transformed within minutes, and so on. But an identity shift does not only change the body, it changes the whole body of experience, as science will someday have the courage to admit. Since the outside world is not separate from consciousness, changing the self equals changing the outside world. In this light, you may understand how superfluous and unnecessarily complicated it is to use affirmations and visualizations in order to make something happen out there is. You're always standing at the crossover point of many realities. Which direction you take is up to you. The next better version of self is already real and available for you to enter. And what if you take the wrong direction? That's completely fine because you can notice and alter it the next minute. Just like you no longer need to differentiate between real and unreal, neither need you differentiate between true and untrue. Instead, differentiate between truth, real, and fact manifest. Anything and everything is true, but only some of it manifest in your life. Truth in RC is not the truth of religion, which not only tries to state absolutes you must submit to, but also makes everyone who doesn't submit wrong. It is also not the truth of empirical science, which teaches to concern oneself only with what was manifested. Scientific breakthroughs do not occur by this type of focus, but by focus on what has not manifested yet. RC truth is the truth of identity, the truth of what you feel right now. Over time, facts do begin to align to your deepest convictions. Impatience and urgency about manifestation point to the event that you're not really identified. Self and imagination are the gateway to all worlds. Remember, whenever you wish to create something, it is something that already exists. What you have been waiting for is actually waiting for you to enter it. When you no longer look for the manifestation but rather feel it, it comes to meet you.